preamble. Glenn, would you hit the record button, please? I'm assuming you want to do that. Glenn, did you hear me?
I'm sorry, I did not.
Oh, are you going to do the record button?
Yes, I am.
Thank
And
you.
it just happened.
It just did.
You're very welcome.
Richard, are you taking pictures of us?
Yes,
Lovely.
I'm looking at my notes from last night to see what all I'm supposed to talk about.
Okay.
I didn't give permission for pictures, Richard.
I've already got ones of you.
All right, that's enough of that. Okay. We will begin this meeting of Kingston Planning Board at 6:31 p.m. on April 6, 2021. And maybe by the time I finish reading the preamble, we'll have more board members in when we do our roll call. So as chair of the Kingston Planning Board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are, first of all, utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during the meeting through the platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and participate in this meeting by dialing the following phone number, which is 929-205-6099, and using the meeting ID 822-7555-3077, or by clicking on the web link, which is on the Planning Board's agenda, which can be found on the Planning Board's page of the Kingston website, and that is www.kingstonnH.org. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website of the board. Again, that's www.kingstonnH.org. If anybody has a problem, please call 603-642-3342, extension 6, or email pb, as in planning board, pb @kingstonnH.org. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. So we'll start by taking roll call attendance, and when each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during the meeting, which is required under the right to know law for this remote meeting. So it looks like we have
Everyone.
We have everyone. We have all our regular members, and we have one of our alternate members. Okay. All right. Okay, Ellen, would you like to do the honors and call the roll, please?
Sure. Glenn Koppelman,
Present, home alone.
Lynn Merrill,
And muted.
Well, we're off to a good start. Present at my office alone.
Richard Wilson,
Present and alone.
Peter Coffin,
Present, home alone.
Robin Duguay,
Present and alone.
Peter Baiki,
Present and alone.
Chris Bashaw,
Present, currently alone. My family will pass through at some point.
and Ellen is home and alone in the room.
Okay. And Ellen is our administrative assistant and also an alternate to the board. Since we have a full board sitting, Ellen will not be voting, but will be participating in the discussion should she so choose. And we have Glenn Greenwood with us, our town planner as well. We did say that we notified Dennis Quintal that he didn't need to be at this meeting because there were no public hearings and nothing that he really needed to participate in. So he won't be joining us. And Ellen, I haven't heard from Steve Padfield. I don't know if he's planning on.
I'm sorry, I thought I sent you an email that he was
Oh,
not going to be in a place that had good Wi-Fi.
you did. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You did.
So
Okay.
If he could join us, he would, but to not expect.
Yeah, okay. All right, so as you can see from our agenda, we don't have any public hearings tonight. We have two, however, in 2 weeks from now. And that agenda has already gone out, and there's some revised materials on at least one of those that you'll be seeing. So tonight, we basically have a bunch of minutes to approve, and we have a number of miscellaneous items. A couple of things that are carried over from previous meetings, some are new things, and I didn't put them in any particular order, and I'm just going to take them as they come up in my pile here. And Richard, I was going to say, Richard, you want to talk to us regarding driveway stuff, and that's actually already on here as a specific item. So we'll do that when we get to it. And Lynn, I got your email. I don't know if you saw my response. I didn't know if it was something that when we get to the right time, if you wanted to address it, or if you'd rather Glenn Greenwood perhaps take a crack at it first.
Oh, I don't have a problem bringing it up.
Oh, okay. Then when we get down a little bit further, I'll turn it over to you to introduce that. All right. The first item that I have in front of me is a voluntary lot merger request. And this is from the town of Kingston. It is for the purpose of merging two of the lots. This is related to the recent land purchase and the new fire station development. And it is for merging lots U11-13 and U11-14. The addresses are 148 Main Street and 4 Rock Rimmon Road, respectively. Voluntary lot merger does not require, Glenn, help me out. It doesn't require noticing, or technically doesn't require a public
No,
hearing.
no, no, it doesn't require a public hearing. It just requires approval by the planning board, or an understanding by the planning board that the lot merger would not conflict with any present zoning conditions in town, and this one does not. So it's from the planning board side, it's a pretty rote activity.
Right, right. So when we get to the right time on this one, and we can certainly entertain discussion on it, the motion would be for your authorization to have the chair sign it, because there's a spot on this that requires a planning board signature, as well as the owner's signature and the assessing clerk. So are there questions on this? Is everyone familiar with the property? It's at the corner of Rock Rimmon and Main.
I make a motion, we authorize the chair to sign the voluntary lot merger form to merge lots U11-13 and U11-14.
Second.
Okay, motion by Lynn, second by Robin. Any further discussion? Ellen, before I take the vote, is this something that would be all right for me to sign and PDF it and send it back to, no, original?
And there has to be 3 originals. At the time we got it, there was only one. Gave it back to Susan to get the rest of them.
Okay.
And she'll let me know when they're signed, so I can then contact you, so you know when you can come sign.
Okay. All right, then I will hold this one until we hear. All right, any further discussion then on it? Okay, Ellen, let's call the roll, please.
Okay, Glenn Kopelman,
Yes.
Lynn Merrill,
Yes,
Richard Wilson,
Yes,
Peter Coffin,
Yes.
Robin Dugway,
yes,
Peter Baiki,
Yes.
Chris Bashaw.
yes,
Okay, thank you. That's unanimous. So Ellen, I'll just wait to hear on this and
Yep.
I'll come in and sign them when they're ready.
Okay.
All right. The next one, Glenn, is the discussion that you want to have with us regarding, and this is a follow-up to previous meeting where we had a request from someone in the residential area to have an agricultural business essentially. And this is on Bob White Drive. And Glenn, you've done some follow-up on this.
Yeah, I'm not on mute right now. I just wanted to touch base with the planning board to let them know that originally my letter to them was going to state that they could not do any activity of an agricultural nature on their site because they're in the single family residential zone, and we did not include that in our agricultural permissions. It's the only zone that doesn't have that. But there is a state law that says that anyone, regardless of the zoning district that they exist in, are allowed to till their property and grow things. So I just wanted to let the board know that I'm going to tell these folks that they actually can grow their produce. In this instance, I think they wanted to mainly do flowers. They can't do a farm stand, which was one of the things that they wanted to do. But one of the options that they provided to us was that they were thinking about selling their flowers to florists in the area. And I think that the state law would allow them to do that. It wouldn't allow them to have a farm stand, so they couldn't have people come and get the flowers, but they could certainly grow flowers and deliver them to florists in the area for sale. And I just wanted to let the board know that I was going to, that would be no longer say they can't do it at all. It just does limit what they could do. And it does include one of the things that they had proposed doing. So I wanted the board to know that.
This is Peter. I think that we had only stated that they wouldn't be able to set up a farm stand or a sales location on the property. We did not say anything about saying they couldn't grow the stuff or grow whatever they want. And certainly an in-home business, delivering what they grow off their property would certainly qualify as an in-home occupation because it doesn't require signs or anything.
But it's not even that, Peter. It really goes back to what Glenn said about the state law, which presumes and states very clearly that the tilling of soil for the growing of crops and such I think it says cannot be prohibited in any zone or something to that effect.
Correct.
Right. And my only point is that the selling off property is certainly, if nothing else, would qualify as a home occupation, but there's absolutely no restriction on the ability to grow it. It's how you sell it. And I think the only thing we had said is that they couldn't sell it on the property, set up a stand and sell it there. We didn't put any other restrictions. And that's what we were asked about, was selling it on the property. So I was surprised when you said you can tell them do any agricultural business.
Well, we had actually stated in our discussions, because the board had asked for clarification about Ben the year previous. And the year previous, we had made it very clear which zones you could do agricultural activity in. And by excluding that discussion in the single family, we were saying you couldn't do agricultural activity in the single family. But that isn't legal.
Right.
But the discussion that we had and the guidance that I had received was that I was to inform them that it was not part of our zoning ordinance to allow agricultural activity in the single family zone. Okay. And that's the clarification I want to make very open and understood to them, that regardless of the fact that our zoning ordinance doesn't list it as a permitted use, they can indeed do it.
And I'd really rather not even entertain the discussion about whether it's in-home business or not, or
Right.
in-home occupation, because then you go and you read that section of the ordinance and it talks about all the activity has to happen within a building or within the property, within the bounds of a building and all of that. And this is the growing of crops outside.
Oh,
I think we really are.
Yeah. Just let
Mixing
it go as
apples and oranges.
agricultural activity.
So I think as long as we're following the guidelines of the RSA that allows the tilling of soil for crop generation, then we should be okay.
Mhm.
Other thoughts on this? All right, seeing none. I'll assume that the board is comfortable with that approach, and Glenn, you'll get back to the folks on Bob White Drive.
Well, indeed.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay, the next item in my pile of things, and Glenn, I think this is yours as well to talk with us about. It was also shared with the board, and it is regarding the intended installation of concrete pads at John's Truck and Auto on New Boston Road. And we have a letter from Andrea Kenter at Geo Insight, as well as a plan telling us what these are all about, what the purpose of them is. And I guess the question for us then is whether or not this needs further review or perhaps amended site plan action by us. Is that right, Glenn?
Correct. And as I review the information that she's provided us and done a review of the property file, it seems to me that this could qualify as an expedited site plan review activity, and would be allowed after approval by the board and submittal of the appropriate number of plans, which I think she did. But in any event, the expedited site review requirements allow that the activity can only happen twice on the site. And I could find clear evidence of one other expedited site review for John's Auto, but not two. There was a discussion about a second that never took place. And so from my perspective, they qualify. There is an existing site plan on file. So from my perspective, this is something that could be handled as an expedited site.
Thoughts from the board?
Do we have to notice an expedited site plan review?
I believe we do. Glenn, we have to. Oh, well, I don't have the regs in front of me, so I don't know.
I think in the past, we have noticed it and we put it on an agenda.
Do we notify abutters? Is it a full noticing or no?
I think it was.
I think it was when we did the one at the fair, at the campground.
I'm just
Do you
wondering.
remember, Alan?
I'm looking it up.
Looks like Robin might be looking for it as well.
On page 904-2.
Ellen wins.
He started before you, Robin.
Ellen, would you like to read it?
Well, I'm not sure it tells us.
Oh,
It says what's required. It says a full site plan review will not be required for any expansion of any existing non-residential use under the following circumstances. A new site plan review need not be submitted if the proposed development of the site meets each of the following. There is an approved site plan for the property on file in the planning board office. The expansion does not constitute a change of use. The proposal does not result in expansion greater than 7% of the original structure size. and in no instance shall the increase constitute greater than 1,500 square feet of new construction. All other requirements of site plan review are satisfied. All site activity must presently conform to the existing approved site plan. And 12 copies of a revised site plan showing all alterations shall be submitted for purposes of file update.
So it's not providing any relief from any of the requirements of site plan review, such as noticing or anything.
How many pads are they talking about? What kind of area are they talking about covering?
She has it in that letter.
I think it's.
A couple, one out in front of the main office building to receive vehicles. And I think another one is already in place back by the 3-pole shed that replaced the burned out building.
There's only one proposed on this application.
Right, okay. That's the only new one.
Which is in front of the office building.
Right.
It looks like it's a 45 by 20 square foot concrete pad.
Yeah, 45 by 20, yep.
So basically they're doing it to stop spillage into the ground, right?
Correct. To allow vehicles to be parked on that apron so that there wouldn't be leakage onto the ground.
If somebody in another building was going to pour a concrete pad, would we require an expedited site plan?
If it met those requirements, yes.
No, I mean, would we expect anything?
Well, I think in this case, you just want to have a recording of where the plan, where the new concrete plat is on their site plan. And I think when we use the term expedited site plan, it implies that's a procedure. What Ellen had just read to us is actually saying that we are not required to follow formal site plan review procedures in the event of all those things she read. And it doesn't say, but in lieu of that, here's a different procedure you have to follow. It just meets those requirements. We don't have to do the formal procedures, which means you don't have to notice the public. The way I read it is you don't need to notice the public or do anything else. You just determine that it meets those requirements, and then you can put whatever requirements you want, like a plan showing where the changes are going to occur. So I don't read in that regulation that there is a procedure that requires noticing or anything else. It's relief from our formal procedures for site plan review is what we're referring to as an expedited site plan.
More of what I was getting at was whether they need to do anything.
Well,
Yeah,
I think Peter is agreeing with you. I think
Well,
he's saying once we get the 12 copies of the plan showing the location of the pad, that's all that needs to be accomplished. Is that what you're saying, Peter?
Oh, sorry. That was to be, yeah. What I'm saying is that as long as we got the copies that are required, yeah.
So you're saying the planning board doesn't have to review it at all? You just need the plans? Is that what you're saying,
I can look at
Peter?
that again, but we don't have to conduct the formal procedure. So my reading of that is that it, oh heck, where is it? The site plan review exemption may be utilized 2 times. So it's an exemption from a site plan review. So, and only after the applicant has had a conceptual consultation with the planning board at which the determination is made that the site plan is not required. After the second time, any further
And that's what this would.
And so what we're saying is that, and item F with what Ellen read was 12 copies of revised site plan showing all alterations shall be submitted for the purposes of file update. I think that is the only thing we need to presumably meet with the applicant according to this requirement. It's conceptual consultation with the planning board at which the determination is made. So I don't know if the letter suffices as a conceptual consultation, and then we can just say that the site plan is not required and please submit 12 copies of the revised site plan.
Well, the letter doesn't constitute conceptual consultation, but
Right.
conceptual consultation can be done with the planning board, but it doesn't need to be a full notice on it.
Right.
It doesn't need any notice for conceptual.
The last ones that we've done, we've noticed. We haven't, I don't believe we've sent them to abutters, but they've been on the planning board's hearing and they have been noticed.
Okay. That's
Just
the
the
state.
board was discussing this, blah, blah, blah. So the public was aware it was going to be discussed, but not that it was all the other.
That we were going to make a decision on anything. Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with it being. I think we got plenty of time. It's fine with it being noticed and put on the agenda, and even have a representative of the applicant be on the Zoom.
I mean, that's not what I was debating, whether they needed to do anything.
I think they do, because it
If
provides.
they're not going over their ground cover area or any of that, we would love for them to put a pad in front of it.
Oh yeah, this is
Leak it.
definitely an improvement,
Yeah.
which is why the feds are paying for it.
Well, but it's essentially a structure, Richard, that really needs to be reflected on the plan, and whenever that happens, the site plan needs to be updated.
If they were paving that parking lot, would you want the same thing?
Yes,
Okay.
I mean, you're
What was the
changing-
square, what was the square footage again?
900 square feet.
Thank you.
42 by 25.
20, according to the plan that was
It's-
delivered to my office.
It's approximately 45 by 20 square feet.
I mean, it's obviously an improvement. And we have a copy of the plan that they've submitted. We have the letter that was submitted. I think the plan needs to be recorded so that it reflects what's there, but I don't see any reason to have any further.
I'm not
meeting or
sure
anything about it.
I don't think you have to record it. We just need to keep
that
talking.
plan can't record. I don't think it meets the requirements of the registry for recording.
I think we've done them at a public meeting, but we have not recorded them. We've kept copies in our files.
Yeah, because sometimes we did one for the golf course once that showed a storage shed. Those were just drawn onto the existing site plan by
Okay.
hand.
I thought that the reason why we had the applicant meet with the planning board was so that you could technically go through this list, confirm that was okay, and then tell them no further review was required. And that was the reason why the board met with them, so that you could actually, check off the list and say, yep, we're all set, you're all done. And you did it at a public meeting. That's what you've done in the past.
So yeah, I think to keep this short and simple, I think we should put it on the agenda and do
Wait for
exactly
that.
that in the Zoom meeting, and we can be on our merry way with this. So,
All right, so the suggestion is, at least from, excuse me, from one individual, that we do this at a noticed meeting. We have the applicant or their representative with us to explain, and that we would not record a plan, but we would keep copies in the town for file.
Sounds lovely.
Any
do we have to move
differences?
this to get it on the agenda? Is that what you're looking at next, Glenn?
I just wanted to make sure if there were any other differences of opinion that we do that now.
Oh, right.
All right, seeing none. Peter, you want to do the motion?
Yeah, before I do that, Ellen, what's the first available date that,
Well,
4th or the 18th of May.
the 18th at this point is better, I think, but that's up to you. I mean, you do have possibly the training on the 4th, which would mean that applicant might have to just hang around and wait for a while, as opposed to being first on the May 18th agenda. So at least for the board.
so May 4th would be posting time for that one, right?
May 4th, you have training, which the board has to confirm you want,
Yeah.
at 6:45, in which case you could put them in at, I mean, they might just have to wait Or you could put them in May 18th and they'd be first.
Why don't we put them in first before the training?
Yeah, I mean,
Shouldn't take 5 or 10 minutes.
We can do that if you want to.
Okay, I'll move that that the public hearing for John's Auto concrete pad go on the agenda for the 4th of May at 6:45 p.m.
Second,
Is it all right, we have a motion and a second. I need some clarification, Peter. Is it a public hearing?
It would be a public hearing.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the purpose.
Well, I don't think so.
Or, Glenn,
no, it's
it just has to be posted, right?
it's a conceptual concept. We'll be
Oh, okay, yeah.
We'll be calling it the conceptual consultation for an expedited site review, and it just has to happen at a planning board meeting. So that would be what we would be accomplishing.
All right, so the conceptual consultation be put on the agenda for the 4th of May at 6:45 p.m.
6:40.
All right.
still second.
All right. Motion by Peter Coffin, second by Richard Wilson.
None of that scared you, huh, Richard?
Is there any further discussion on this? Any questions? Anybody confused at this point? All right. Seeing no hands up. Ellen, let's call the roll on this one, please.
Glenn Kopelman,
Yes?
Lynn Merrill,
Yes?
Richard Wilson,
Yes,
Peter Coffin,
Yes.
Robin Dubois,
Yes.
Peter Baiki,
Yes.
and Chris Bashaw.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's unanimous, so that motion carries. Oop,
Echo.
Richard?
yes,
Oh, we got some echo going on. All right.
Richard moved.
Why choose anything less than 5 stars?
Someone's watching TV.
Yeah, okay. All right, the next item on my list is a construction cost estimate and bond reduction worksheet. And these are, Ellen, did this get distributed to the board today?
I believe so.
Yeah, okay. This is for the Fieldstone Industrial Park down on 125. And this is a sheet that Dennis drafts up, usually in conjunction with the road agent. And it requires sign off by both the town engineer and the planning board. Usually the planning board accepts Dennis's workup of this sheet. And so if you have questions or comments, we can discuss it. Otherwise, what we'd be looking for here is a motion to authorize the chair to sign off on it.
This is Peter. I'll move that the chair sign off on the bond amount for the Fieldstone Industrial Complex.
Just to be clear, it's the sign off on the construction cost estimate and bond reduction worksheet.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
I had to get it off my screen.
All right, motion by Peter Coffin. Richard, did you second that one?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion. And before I take the vote, Ellen, is this one that we can do electronically and I can send it off to you and Cindy, or do I
Yes.
need to come in?
No, that one you can.
Okay. Okay, seeing nothing further then, Ellen, let's call the roll, please.
Glenn Kopelman,
Yes?
Lynn Merrill,
Yes?
Richard Wilson,
Yes,
Peter Coffin,
Yes.
Robin Dubois,
Yes.
Peter Baiki,
Yes.
and Chris Bashaw.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's unanimous, so that motion carries. Ellen, I'll do that either later or tomorrow and get that off to you.
Sure.
To you and to Cindy, is that sufficient?
Yes.
Okay.
You might want to send it to Dennis, but if you don't, I'll send it to him.
Okay, sure.
In case.
Yep,
Is-
I can do that.
is that the
and-
last thing we need from them for him to be legal to start working?
Well, they haven't signed it yet and he has to give you the bond.
But once that's done, is that the last thing we need?
Glenn has to review the Mylar.
Okay,
Yep, we have not signed off on the Mylar and it has not been recorded yet.
okay.
Okay. All right, the next item is, again, this was distributed to folks earlier today. And this was a notification from the attorneys for Diamond Oaks indicating that they had revised the condo docs to now be compliant with our ordinances, which define the age parameters for residents in these. And the question for the board is, would you like these to have board council's review as we typically do with these documents?
I'm going to say yes. And one of the reasons is that even though he put the wording in about the town ordinance, the over 55, later on in the document, it says that the vote of 75% of the members can change it. It doesn't say anything about still needing to comply with town ordinances.
Yes, it does. Yes, it
In
does.
the first instance, it does. The second one, much farther down the document, it allows it again, but it omits. It requires a state, agreement with the state law, but not the town documents, and that's where a review should show up. And all he would have to do is add in compliance. It says that the docs can be altered if in compliance with town regulations. And just a few words added to it, but the way he did on the first iteration.
If I can just interrupt for a second, I didn't send this out until this afternoon because we just got it. So I certainly didn't expect the board to be able to review it completely in that short period of time. I was going to add it to our next agenda so everybody could look through it. But in the meantime, if the board wanted council to review it, then any corrections, the board could have a chance to really review it and bring them back at the next thing. Now, if you all want to talk about it tonight, that's fine. But
no, I just want to bring that up
time.
so that it could get noticed to the attorney before he reviews it, and he can make that recommendation if possible. Might speed things up.
Okay. Again, as Ellen said, this came into us, very, very close to our meeting today. So the expectation was not that everybody would have a chance to read it and discuss it, but if we could at least get a decision on whether or not we wanted to go to council for review, we could get that underway so that by the time we discuss this again, we'll at least have the input from council.
Do we need a motion for that?
It would be good.
I think so.
I would make a motion that we submit the Diamond Oaks updated condo docs to legal counsel for review prior to the next hearing.
I'll second that.
Okay. So motion by Robin, second by Peter Coffin. Further discussion? All right. If we could call the roll, please, Ellen?
Glenn Koppelman,
Yes?
Lynn Merrill,
Yes,
Richard Wilson,
Yes,
Peter Coffin,
Yes.
Robin Duguay,
Yes.
Peter Baiki,
Yes.
and Chris Bashaw.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's unanimous. So that motion carries. So the next time we discuss this as a board will depend on, at least partly on when we get input back from council.
Glenn, will you send that to Sumner when you're
I'll
in?
send it over on Thursday. I'll send it over on Thursday.
So whenever we get the feedback, at that point, whatever the next nearest meeting is, we can put it back on the agenda.
And I suppose if any of the board members want to send comments, we can collect them all and distribute them prior to when we discuss it. So everybody can see any concerns or questions people have, if you want to make that quicker kind of thing, I guess.
And I'm assuming that we would, if we had comments, we would send them to Ellen and Glenn, maybe?
And then we'll just compile them and, we can send it out that way to the board.
Okay. All right. Next item. This is a bit of training that has been offered by Dana Truslow, the town's hydrogeologic consultant. And recently she had offered to do a little bit of a session for the board to help us understand better issues related to water, particularly underground water. And there was some discussion with her, and there was the proposal that we do this at our May 4th meeting, which is our work session date coming up in a couple of weeks. No, in a month. And again, this was sent out to the board. It went out to you today at around noontime, so you might not have had a chance to see it. But unless there's objection from the board, the intent would be to do this at the May 4th meeting. Are folks okay with that? Any objections to it?
I think it's a great idea.
How long will the training last? Is there a time limit?
She's proposing, and we can structure it any way we want, but she's proposing 20 minutes to a half an hour, and then Q&A.
Perfect.
It seemed like an ambitious agenda to cram into 20 or 30 minutes, but
right.
I'll defer to the expert on that.
Well, yeah, and this is her bailiwick, and I think that if obviously if she were to go into any amount of detail on this list, we wouldn't be able to do it in a full evening's meeting. So it's not going to be an in-depth discussion, but I think it's in some cases it's a refresher, and in some cases it's just a kind of a nice primer for the board to have, since most of the applications we deal with have water issues of one form or another. I mean, we derive our drinking water in town completely from underground sources, unless you happen to have a surface well, which is very rare these days. And of course, when we get into large developments, it requires hydrogeologic studies and so forth. So it's an important topic, and she's a good resource for us, and she offered to do this for us at essentially no charge to the town. So it would be good, I think, for us to take advantage of it. And I'm not seeing any objection, but if there is any objection, please say so now. Okay, seeing none. Ellen or Glenn, would you get back in touch with Dana? And
I'll send an email tonight.
Okay, thank you. All right.
I might tell her she's not on until 7, since we have John's Auto up first.
Yep. And we should be able to dispense with the concrete pad thing in 15 minutes. I would hope. Okay. All right. So Ellen and Glenn, I need to ask you about this next one. This is a handwritten note that came into the board. It was probably sent in electronically. I don't know, but it's a handwritten note from someone wanting to reestablish a photography business on Church Street.
Yes, the board had previously approved them at a different location. They left that location for a year or two. They're going into another commercial location, and they just need to get a business occupancy permit, but they can't unless the planning board agrees that they meet zoning. So the letter, I think, says where they're going.
And this is Church Street Station, is that correct?
What the letter said.
Did this, Ellen or Glenn, did this go out to the board, the letter?
Yes.
It did.
And it went out late because we got it on Thursday, so she would have had it in enough time to send it out per the board's requirements, but she had the wrong address in it by mistake. So she had to rewrite it and get it back to me. In the meantime, I did confirm that her hours would be approximately at the utmost 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., although she would never expect it to go that way, but she's put that in. She's the only employee. She basically has one appointment a day because she has to do cleaning 3 hours before, 3 hours after, because she basically does like infant photography. So it's not like she's gonna have people there all these hours. It'd be 1 or 2 clients, basically.
Okay. Well, if the board is of a mind to deal with this tonight, then what I would do is read this letter into the record just so that the board and the public have the opportunity to hear it. Is the board comfortable dealing with this tonight, even though we got it just today?
I would hope so.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm seeing thumbs up from everybody. Okay. All right, so this is dated April 5, 2021. It's addressed to whom it may concern. I would like to reopen my photography business at 34 Church Street, unit number 10, the end unit. I am by appointment only, with my hours being limited to 1 session per day or mini session events, also by appointment only. I was previously at 160 Main Street. My business name is Lace and Twigs Photography, and it gives the web address. It also gives the cell phone, and it says my home address is 6 Birch Street. I am the only employee, and I have been in business since 2009. Any questions, please ask. And it's signed Genevieve Bergeron, gives the phone number again and the website address again. So the only thing it doesn't have on here is hours of operation, but Ellen, you said what they were going to be.
Yes, and we wrote that on, once I was done speaking with her, it is on the letter that will go into the file that has her hours of operation on.
Okay. So it's in a commercial establishment. It's a retail center, if you will, at Church Street Station. Has a number of units there, mostly retail in nature. And so.
Make a motion that the Lace and Twigs letter describing what they're going to do, or a letter asking for permission to go into Church Street Station, requiring no further review.
We'll second that,
Aye.
Mr. Peter.
Further review by this board.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Motion by Lynn, second by, was it Peter Coffin?
Peter, yep.
Peter Coffin, okay. Further discussion? Seeing none. Okay, time for a roll call.
Glenn Koppelman,
Yes.
Lynn Merrill,
Yes.
Richard Wilson,
Yes.
Peter Coffin,
Yes.
Robin Duguay. I didn't hear Robin.
Robin?
Give a thumbs up, Robin.
No,
Can't
I
hear you.
say
Can't hear
thumbs up.
Can't hear you, Robin.
There you go.
There we go.
Peter Baiki
Yes.
and Chris Bashaw.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's unanimous. That motion carries as well. All right.
And
I-
Ellen has probably already told them they need a business occupancy permit.
That's what started all this. They're well aware.
That's
They've
the first
already
place,
applied. They paid for it.
It goes without saying that they probably will need to be dealing with the building inspector for a sign permit as well.
There. Oh, never mind.
Okay. Let's see. So the last thing here in the miscellaneous pile, before we get back to the items that are noted on the agenda for tonight, is an email that came to Ellen, Glenn, and I today from Lynn. And Lynn, I'll turn it over to you to introduce the subject for us.
So over the past year, I've sort of been keeping a little log of things that might require further discussion after as we went through a number of the proposals that were presented. So I did send so that Ellen would have the list and Glenn would know what I had talked about doing. A list of things we might want to talk about. One was the wetlands ordinance. Should we allow the replacement of wetland disturbed by construction to be replaced with a parcel in another area of town that would be purchased and protected? You know, should that be part of our ordinance? Another one was impervious surfaces. Should we allow for pervious pavement? Do we want to put that in our rules and regs, our regulations? One of the things that came up earlier this year was the 200-foot setback from an existing road for the innovative zoning development plan. Should any part of that setback be used for drainage, et cetera? As we know, the whole plan on Marshall Road was changed from a 13-lot cluster subdivision to a 7-lot subdivision along the road because of the drainage issue. Is that something that we should be talking about addressing or not addressing? There's also a place where structure, the definitions of a structure don't align. One is on page 2-4 and one is on 201-2N. Do we want to have the definition of a structure be the same regardless of which ordinance that it's in or not? And then the last thing was something that came across, was sent to us at some point. There was an August 2008 letter talking about who needed to sign things. And one of those were plot plans need no seals by any professional, and condominium floor plans may be stamped by either an LLSPE or architect. And I don't know why we had that. I don't know why it came across. I don't remember why it was in my notes, but for some reason it was there. So I guess I'm thinking that I've been told that other things may be coming before the planning board this year that may be a big project, i.e. the seminary building. Maybe these are things that instead of waiting until September, October, August, September, October, they're things we may want to be talking about at one of our first meeting of the month sessions. And, you know, looking at making changes that we could vote for in November to put as ordinance changes without being rushed at that time.
And any of these that might fall into the regulation category, those could be done at any time.
Sure.
I'm not sure which ones of these might be, but some of them are, I think.
So I only brought it forth to see if it was they were things that we wanted to discuss and talk about at a future meeting.
Ellen?
I sent something back to Lynn, but it was late. I don't know if she got it, suggesting that maybe the pervious surface question, we might want to ask to have Dana add that to part of her discussion. I didn't know if it might be helpful. Oh, Glenn's waving.
Glenn?
I would really love the opportunity to get the Stormwater Center at UNH to send over a person to talk to us about pervious pavement. They've put so much effort and research and follow-up study on the issue that if we, and I know that they like to do outreach. So if it would be almost silly for us not to go to the local regional specialists on this and have them give us the result of years now of review on this topic. Dana could give us information, but they've really been studying it so long that it's crazy to not ask them to come talk to us about it.
Well, let's do it then.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, they really are the resource.
They're the resource. They're the resource.
I mean,
Sounds good to me.
And I tell you, they would probably strongly at the end of it ask us to go over and look at their example site that shows different technologies that they advocate for. I hesitate to say everybody has to do that, but it might be good for a couple of board members. I haven't been there in years, so I would be interested in going back over because I know that they've expanded it a lot, but they're a really good resource and we should use them.
Where is their site, Glenn?
It's in Durham. The original one was. I might have seen something that they left that site because they expanded, but it's local. It's not a long trip to get to it.
Road trip.
I think it's still in Durham.
I believe that it is. I believe that it is, but I do think it's different from the site that I went to early on.
Could be. Okay. So that's a good item to work on.
And can I posit this? It's short notice, but if they could come the same night as Dana, would the board like that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's short notice, so I'm not sure that they'll be able to commit, but if they could, it'd be great to kill two birds with one stone.
Well, one of the nice things about the Zoom meetings is that logistically, it's easier for folks to
Much
squeeze
easier
into their
for them.
schedules.
Much easier.
Well, if you can reach out to them, Glenn.
I'll try to
Oh,
can see if I can get someone to
okay.
give us a
They can't come
presentation.
on May 4th. Does the board want it for the next work session in June? Just to keep
Sure.
the whole
So I
idea
could give them
going?
2 dates.
Yeah.
So May 4th or June 1st, Glenn?
Yes, I will offer them both of those.
Okay. So Lynn, with regard to the list, I mean, I think you've identified some things that that were issues along the way over the last year. So, I mean, I think they're all good things to be looking at. The question is, well, we've sort of talked about the impervious one and how we're going to sort of move it a little bit here. As far as the other ones, I just hate to throw it out as a discussion item because oftentimes it's easier for the board to, if they have something to start with as a recommendation, it's much easier to work with. So I don't know if Lynn, if you had it, since you drew up the list, if you had some thoughts about how you might want to propose revised wording so that the board would at least have a starting point.
Well, I think the,
Oh, Glenn, hang on, Glenn.
I'm not trying to cut you off, Lynn. I think there may be other areas in the book where the structure issue presents itself. So if everybody's okay with it, I would propose that I do a look through the zoning book and the subdivision regulations and find the points of conflict with the topic of structure. And it won't be a long memo, but I'll put together a memo in writing so that people can understand the issue and we could then have a discussion about it at some point.
Can you also decide what are regulations and what are ordinances so we know what we can act on and what we?
Yeah, I'll make that clear in my memo. Yes.
Ellen?
And I work with Glenn on this because while I was home during COVID, I went through the book and found all the conflicts.
Yeah, I know that there are more than just the two. So
I have a whole list of them for a bunch of conflicts, so maybe we could kind of work on that.
Perfect. That's great.
That would be very.
that would be good.
Yeah, that structure.
So looking at the list quickly, Lynn, and I know we cut you off earlier. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry, Lynn.
It looks like the wetlands one is an ordinance. The impervious surfaces, I'm guessing that might be in our regs. The setback on innovative zoning is that ordinance?
That's
or-
zoning. That's
zoning.
zoning. That's an ordinance.
That's zoning.
Yeah.
Condo floor plans would be, I don't know, that one might be reg.
That's
and,
most likely in subdivision and site plan.
It could also be state law.
Okay,
yeah, that letter thing that we had a state law thing about it.
okay.
So I'm not even sure. It was RSA 310-A:74. So I'm thinking that we may not have to do anything as long as we follow state law. It may not even need to be in our regs, but for some reason it was here.
What is Richard whispering?
I think he's whispering that that's selectmen issue.
Richard, is there something you'd like to share with us?
No, not yet.
All right. Okay.
And I think the wetlands ordinance thing about replacing with another parcel, I think that's in state law. We might
That
be
is,
able to just-
that's the mitigation process, but maybe it would be clearer if we mentioned that process someplace, either in our sub D and site plan regs or in the zoning ordinance. It might be better in our regulations to explain how that is a possibility and something that can be achieved.
Yeah.
Okay. How about it, Glenn? It sounds like one way or the other, you're going to be knee deep into this. So
Yeah, I loved looking at the list this afternoon. I thought it was I was jazzed. These are things we should work on. So
okay.
I'm happy to participate.
How about if you and Ellen and Lynn, if you want to work with the two of them to sort of sort these things out and then come back to the board with at least a draft for us to sort of chew on?
And if Ellen found a lot of things that are issues, that we could just fix little things that are not matching or whatever, that conflict with one another, maybe we should just take one night and just go through our ordinances and take care of all those little things.
Yep.
So on the work sessions, if nothing else, we'll put on, at least this is an ongoing topic.
Yeah.
So some things can be taken care of and other things we might have to add as an agenda item if they're a little bigger or an ordinance or something that needs to be publicly noticed, but we'll put it on work sessions, and if we don't have any applications, we'll put it on those nights or something. So.
You know, about 8 years ago, we went through the whole book, reading a chapter a night, you know, to check for errors and everything. Maybe it's time we need to do that again.
Okay. All right. So Lynn, are you okay with that plan of action?
Oh, I am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. So back to our agenda. The next item would be approval of minutes, and we have the minutes of January 27 of this year, but we also have two sets of minutes from last year that Ellen has indicated we might not have or probably did not vote on. So, but you did resend them to us, Ellen. Yes. So if we do this completely, we've got three sets of minutes. So we'll take the first one on the list, January 27 of this year.
I did find one little error, and that was on page 4 under the third motion. It had motion by Ms. Merrill, second by Ms. Bakey. So I thought we should change that.
Tammy just stepped in and decided to help out that night. No? Okay.
I just thought we should change the Ms. to a Mr. That's the only thing that I found.
Okay.
All right.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as amended.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Lynn, second by, I heard Robin first, so we'll take Robin second. Further discussion. All right, we'll do the roll call then.
Glenn Kopelman,
Yes?
Lynn Merrill,
Yes.
Richard Wilson,
Yes.
Peter Coffin,
Yes.
Robin DuGuay,
Yes.
Ms. Bakey.
Mr. Bakey, yes.
Sorry. And Chris Bashaw.
Yes.
Okay, so that's unanimous. Thank you.
Sorry, I couldn't.
Motion carries. How about the July 7 minutes of last year? That would be 2020.
I read them and I don't remember what happened. So I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Same thing. It was
At this point, we're making this whole process legal by doing this. So
right,
Exactly.
and I'll
Make a
second
motion
that.
We accept the minutes.
Reasons.
motion by Lynn, second by
Right.
Peter Coffin. Discussion. Okay, seeing none, we'll do the roll.
Glenn Koppelman,
Yes?
Lynn Merrill,
Yes.
Richard Wilson,
Yes.
Peter Coffin,
Yes.
Robin Dugay,
Yes.
Peter Baiki,
Yes.
Chris Bashaw.
Yes.
Okay, that's unanimous. Motion carries. And July 21, also of 2020.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes of July 21st, 2020.
I'll second that,
Second.
Peter. Sorry, Robin, cut you off.
Robin and Peter are dueling it out there. For a second. So
And
a
now we're
motion by
slowing down.
Lynn. I heard Peter first on that one, Peter Coffin. Further discussion. Okay, we'll call the roll then, please.
Glenn Koppelman,
Yes?
Lynn Merrill,
Yes.
Richard Wilson,
Yes.
Peter Coffin,
Yes.
Robin Dugay. I can't, oh, thank you, Robin. Peter Baiki,
Yes.
Chris Bashaw.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. That's unanimous. All right. Richard, driveway stuff.
Basically, this is coming back before you. The reason they want to put this under the selectmen is because of the fact that we're hiring a code enforcement person and we're going to get more strict with driveways, basically. And Rich St. Lair feels like that it's easier for him to come to selectmen meetings and bring things up, etc. And that's what we're looking at. We are probably going to adopt a thing that with septic plans, if a driveway is within so many feet, that it must be shown on the plan, which the state has said is perfectly legal. Because some people feel that people are not getting driveway permits at the right time, and sometimes not at all, even on new, procedures and new buildings. So if you look at paragraph 5, Roman numeral 5, it says that the planning board can give the authority to the highway agent, board of selectmen, or other qualified officials.
And right now,
Rich wants to rewrite the driveway thing, so it's like 2 or 3 pages to include a lot of stuff that it doesn't include now. So,
Rich asked to come to the planning board about that. He said he had things he wanted the planning board to change in the driveway regulation.
which he's going to do, because the planning board would still have full say over subdivisions and everything like they've got now. It would be individuals like, me, if I decide to cap my driveway and go for a permit, that it just goes straight to selectmen and not the planning board, which is what it does now. But I guess they're trying to just make it legal how they're doing it.
well, I thought that, in the driveway regulation now, it cedes the authority from planning board to road agent. Is that correct?
Yes, and I think we're trying to take it from planning board to selectmen.
So
What does that change, Richard?
I'm not sure I know. I couldn't really see the point of this whole thing, but a couple people have gotten on the bandwagon to do it. I can't see any change, because it's not like you argue with anything. If Rich St. Lair says this pitch is too steep, most of the time you back him up instead of arguing. So
we typically don't even see it, because we grant the authority to the road agent and it's dealt with
I
there.
agree. So I don't see the purpose, but
Well, I don't
That's-
either.
And usually the only time it has to come to the planning board is if Richard wants the planning board to waive a requirement, and then he'll come with the applicant to the board because it's a planning board regulation.
Right.
Well, I will talk to them again and see if they can give me more detail on the purpose.
So it sounds to me, from what you're saying, is that the planning board has delegated this administrative duty to the highway agent. And the Board of Selectmen wants to take it away from the highway agent and give it to the Board of Selectmen.
Because the highway agent wants it to give it up, I think is what they're trying to do. And I think maybe the long-term purpose in this is that when somebody else's highway agent, they weren't gonna do the driveways. It's
Well-
gonna be put to maybe the code enforcement agent or somebody else.
But wouldn't that just be saying to the planning board, we don't want to have the road agent do it anymore, can you delegate it to code enforcement? Because otherwise, there's the next paragraph looks like kind of that the Board of Selectmen are reporting to the planning board. And I'm not sure that's what the Board of Selectmen want to have happen. Because if you delegate it to them, the next paragraph says the planning board still retains jurisdiction. So in effect, the Board of Selectmen are reporting to the planning board. And I don't see, no offense, I don't see the Board of Selectmen as a body going out and doing driveway permits. I just don't understand what the point is.
Actually, we check a lot of them now, and that's, I don't know. All right, I'll talk to them.
I-
Let's move this to another night.
Okay.
All right. Okay. That is the end of my list of things. And Glenn or Ellen, did I miss anything?
No, I just have a note that I'm just trying to get, I haven't heard back from Peter, Bakey or Chris, whether you want copies of the revised planning board handbook. I sent you guys emails, but I know sometimes they get missed. I get
And
that.
just so you guys know, this is the updated version of the one that the Office of Strategic Initiatives in Concord does. You probably have an older version of it, and they've updated it as of December of 2020. So
I'm fine with the electronic version.
Okay,
I am as well, thank you.
okay,
okay,
thank
All right.
you.
good. All right, Ellen or Glenn, anything else for tonight?
I do not believe I had anything else.
No, I had a list and you covered it.
Okay. Board members, anything from any of you? Richard?
One thing, just, it is official now that I am the health officer in town. I've got my certificate from the state. Everything is done. We are still taking applications for the job to see if anybody is interested, but we've ran that ad for about 2 weeks now and have no applications. So no one's going to jump up and down for $100 a week job. But I'm official now.
Okay, well, congratulations.
Yeah, condolences, I think.
Well, or that. All right. I don't know if there's any public on, but we should ask for public comment if there is any. Glenn, is there anyone sitting out there waiting?
There is not any, there is no public joining us for this meeting.
Wow. How lonely is that?
Well, it sounded lonelier when I said it out loud.
It did. All right, going once, twice. With no further objection then, at 7:44 p.m., I will call us adjourned.